I've travelled 12 miles from Chertsey to the Brookwood Military Cemetery, which is the largest Commonwealth War cemetery in the UK, covering 37 acres. Behind me is the 1914-18 memorial, which was built in 2015. Buried here are 1,601 people from the First World War and 3,476 from the Second World War. I've come in search of two Chertsey men from the First World War. James Ernest Goulter was born in 1878 in Kingston upon Thames. He was the son of Thomas James Goulter, who was a boat builder and later licensed victualler, and Mary Ann Charlotte Goulter. The family moved to Chertsey, and in 1884 James was admitted to Windsor Street Church of England School. The family lived on Stepgates in Chertsey. His parents and his 5 siblings, John, Albert, Maud, Annie and Ida. The 1901 census records him as living back in Kingston, where he was boarding with the Gibbons family, and notes his occupation as a journeyman butcher. It was probably around this time that he met his wife, Nellie Louisa Haynes, and they were married in May 1901. By 1911, James was living back in Chertsey with his brother Albert, and his wife Nellie was living in Surbiton with their 2 children. In 1915, when James enlisted, he said he wasn't married. The details of what James Goulter did during the First World War are a little scarce. We do know that he joined the Royal Army Service Corps and later the Labour Corps, although only his time in the Royal Army Service Corps is noted on his gravestone. He served in France between September 1915 and December 1916 and then returned to the UK. He died on the 4th of March 1920 in his early 40s, and is buried here at Brookwood Military Cemetery. I'm at the grave of James William Standing, who was born in Chertsey in 1887. He lived with his family in Highfield Cottages, Highfield Road, Chertsey. His father William was a stableman and his mother was Emma, and he had 4 siblings, Harry, Stella, Charlie and Frederick. By 1911 he was working in central London at Grosvenor Place as a groom assistant. In 1913 he married Annie Surleys, who was from Addlestone, and just before the war they were living in Birches Hill, where James was working as a chauffeur. When James was serving in the Tank Corps, he was injured in the right shoulder in March 1918 and taken as a prisoner of war. He was actually noted as missing for a few months. He spent the remainder of the war in Germany working in the coal mines, and conditions were often harsh and brutal. There were harsh targets to be met every day in terms of production of coal, and if you couldn't work there were penalties too. On one occasion James was unable to work because he was ill, and so was made to stand to attention for 4 hours. His time in Germany effectively broke his health, and he returned to England but died in Lewisham Military Hospital on the 23rd of January 1919. He left behind his wife Annie. His death was reported in a number of newspapers, including the Daily Mirror, and he was later buried here at Brookwood Military Cemetery. It's been a real privilege to visit Brookwood Military Cemetery and visit the graves of James Goulter and James Standing. I highly recommend a visit here. It's a beautiful place. But what I have noticed in the hour or so I've been here is the constant sound of gunfire, because we're very close to the Bisley firing range. It's quite ironic that these men are laid at rest with the constant sound of gunfire nearby.